Well, Russia condemned the Western sanctions against Syria, calling them harmful and ineffective in ending the crisis. Moscow's stance on solving the conflict has largely been echoed by its partners within the so-called BRICS group, comprised of Brazil, India, China, and South Africa. I'm now joined by Dr. Sreeram Chaulia, a professor at the Jindal School of International Affairs in India. Thank you very much for being here with us in the program. Now, the BRICS states are united in the need to resolve this Syrian crisis through dialogue, but Western countries tend to resort to sanctions. So why do you think are there such differences within these two blocs?
You know, I feel that BRIC nations are making a stand after learning lessons from their lack of collective consensus on Libya when the earlier, denouement happened before the protests snowballed into an armed rebellion. And there were UN security resolutions that were actually misused and hijacked for regime change when the resolution was only talking about protecting civilians. So it's very, very important now that sanctions could be the first step leading to another military intervention by NATO and its allies in the name of protecting the people of Syria. And it's important to prevent this denouement because it may end up in a situation similar to what we have in Libya, where there is this transition and which was dictated by Western military intervention and propped up. America said that they were leading from behind, but basically the point was that France, Britain, and the United States are now the arbiters of Libya's destiny. French oil companies and Italian oil companies and British oil companies are talking about how they're going to be #1 in Libya now. So we don't want to go down that path again, allowing yet another country which is part of the so-called Arab Spring, but which is now increasingly being militarized through external interventions rather than allowing the fermentation to happen from within. So it's important that BRIC nations put up this stand, a united front, and try to prevent UN resolutions as well as multilateral sanctions that could be the slippery slope leading to full-fledged war and another major imbroglio in the Middle East.
Well, Dr. Chaulia, as we can see, the BRICS countries seem to put up a united front in the Syrian crisis and in the Libyan crisis. So the question arises, how much such united position poses, how much of a challenge, I should say, this united position of the BRICS countries poses to the West when it comes to dealing with other countries?
It's important, it's necessary to contest hegemonic ambitions. And clearly NATO is showing through its actions in Libya and now the drumbeat for sanctions in Syria that they are somehow concerned about the plight of civilians who are being who are on the receiving end of the state's violence in Syria. But the point is, BRIC nations are also concerned, and all of them have said that the regime should treat protesters respectfully and not with the iron fist. But what is important here is how will this situation evolve, and why should the West be in a position where it dictates the terms of yet another transition? You have a situation in Libya today where the Transitional National Council is talking about making sure that the influence of the Western powers who back them will be maximum. So are we entering a new neocolonial era? We need to prevent that, and the only way to do it is for BRIC to put up a united front. BRIC is a microcosm of the movement towards a multilateral world, a genuine multipolar world. And you can only get genuine multipolarity through joint action by BRIC nations to prevent this. But whether they can succeed or not is a matter of also of power projection on the ground. Diplomatically, yes, Russia, China, India, Brazil, even South Africa have sent emissaries to Syria, and they're all involved in behind the scenes. But at the end of the day, it also could boil down to military pressure. And there I think Iran is important, because the only deterrent preventing another Libya-like intervention from the West is the fact that Iran supports the Syrian regime. Although Iran has asked the Syrian regime to moderate its responses to the protests, at the end of the day, Hezbollah and Iran are there, and they will materially prevent a takeover of Syria the way the Western powers have now pretty much taken over Libya by hijacking the UN resolutions to protect civilians. So it's important that BRIC also coordinate with Iran and make sure that there is a peaceful transition of power. We want democracy in Syria, but it should not go down the Libyan way, which ended up with the CIA dictating terms about all the outcomes on the ground right now in the phase between the end of the Gaddafi regime and the takeover of the new regime. So we would like peaceful transfers of regime, and I think that is the message that they're all sending. And in fact, that's a better message than the big stick method that the Europeans and the Americans are talking about, saying that we have to save lives and immediately impose sanctions on the Assad regime.
All right. Dr. Sreeram Chaulia, thanks very much indeed for sharing your views here with us, a professor at the Jindal School of International Affairs in India.